Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to encourage my colleagues to join the bipartisan group of Armed Services Committee members who support a very important measure for our troops. Last month, we overwhelmingly voted in favor of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2016 that the Senate is considering today. The defense of our nation is a fundamental responsibility of the federal government, and the annual passage of the NDAA is an important step in making sure our service members have what they need to do their job and to succeed. These brave men and women selflessly sacrifice everything to keep us safe from the forces of darkness who wish to do us harm. We owe it to these men and women to wisely work together to make certain they have the necessary tools to accomplish their dangerous and demanding missions. And that is what we did in the Armed Services Committee just a few weeks ago. Under the leadership of Chairman McCain and Ranking Member Reed, we reported a bill out of committee that not only supports our armed forces, but makes a host of needed reforms as well. And we did this overwhelmingly by a bipartisan vote of 22-4. I'd like to cite a number of the bill provisions which make our nation stronger and which I hope Congress and the President will enact into law. Our bill cuts nearly $10 billion in wasteful and duplicative spending, thereby freeing up additional funds to develop and procure weapon systems of the future, while also giving our troops in combat the tools that they need today. This bill also makes an important reform aimed at recruiting and retaining the all-volunteer force that has so consistently defended our country for over 4 decades. The Armed Services Committee produced this legislation by using the limited and admittedly less than optimal funding tools at its disposal. For now, the hand that we are dealt to fund the defense of our country is limited by the Budget Control Act, which includes arbitrary spending caps and the threat of sequestration. So in our bill, we are funding our armed forces using funds from the Overseas Contingency Operations account. We are doing so at a level above that requested by the President for this account. OCO was included in the Budget Control Act because members of the 112th Congress recognized the importance of funding our men and women who serve on the front lines. I believe that many members of the Senate fervently hope that in the near future we will be able to fund our government in a fiscally sound manner without the irrational budget caps and threat of sequestration that pervades all of Congress's budgetary deliberations. I'm willing to work with any of my colleagues on either side of the aisle to fix the Budget Control Act. But until that day comes, we need to use the funding options which we have available to keep America safe. The legislation before us today does just exactly that. We are following the rules that are in force today. I'm proud of my colleagues who serve with me on the Armed Services Committee for coming together to achieve a truly bipartisan, comprehensive bill. Our bill will support our troops and meet the demands of a military that needs to continue its dynamic evolution in the face of ever more sophisticated threats. And I was pleased that a number of the provisions I offered were included in the final package that we are debating today. Now that we've completed our work in committee and Leader McConnell has brought our bill to the full Senate for debate, we must come together to pass the NDAA, as the Senate has done each year for more than 5 decades. It is no coincidence that the NDAA is the only legislation to achieve this track record. Rather, it indicates the vital importance that generations of Senate members have attached to it. The defense of our country is not a partisan issue. The bipartisan NDAA sustains what our service members need to succeed in a world that grows ever more dangerous. From Russian aggression in Ukraine and mounting Chinese coercion in Asia to the ugly aggression of the self-proclaimed Islamic State in the Middle East, new threats continue to rise throughout the world. These threats are multifaceted. Our enemy's tactics ever-changing. We must make certain our armed forces can continue to face these challenges, and we must uphold our commitment to them. I encourage my colleagues to pass the NDAA, and I encourage our President to work with Congress to keep Americans safe. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.